Welcome back to the Sherry Ricard Show, a podcast where faith and business intersect to inspire you and empower you as women. Each week, I'm sharing powerful messages of faith, offering practical business advice, and discussing strategies for achieving success. I'm featuring insightful conversations with industry leaders and faith-driven women, providing you with tools and inspiration to grow your business while staying true to your spiritual values. Now let's get ready, ladies. Let's rise, pray, and conquer, and let's dive in. From Good Morning America to building businesses, my guest, Sherry Ward, has a mission that is all about launching people beyond their books, empowering them to make a difference in ways they've never even imagined. As the CEO of Square Tree Publishing and Productions, she's also the founder of Christian Creators 360. She brings over a decade of expertise in transforming aspiring authors into bold, purpose-driven voices. Well, hello, Sherry. How are you?
Hey, Sherry. Sherry.
We're just talking about, I don't know very many Sherrys, but we all spell our name different. I hate to say my ex-sister-in-law because that sounds kind of mean, but she's my former sister-in-law from my first marriage, and I love her to death. And she's also Sherry, that spells it different.
Oh.
So when I was married before, my last name was Kite. So there were two of us, two Sherry Kites, because we married
Oh my
brothers.
gosh. Oh, that would be hard.
It's funny because my father-in-law at the time, he's passed away, but my father-in-law Jimmy would call us Sherry 1, Sherry 2, and my brother-in-law didn't like that because his wife, they had been dating since they were 13, but I was the first one
Oh,
to marry that brother, so he called me Sherry 1. But
uh,
yeah, they didn't like that. They said no, she's Sherry 1, so we had to drop it.
as long as it's not thing one and thing two, we're okay.
Yeah,
So
right. Thing one and thing two. But and
that's so
it's
funny.
crazy. We were just talking about how our birthdays are 2 days apart. Well, she and I, our birthdays are 2 days apart. She was born on the 14th. Isn't
Oh
that
my
crazy?
gosh, that's wild.
I know, but yeah, she's a sweetheart. I miss her. We used to have a lot of fun together, but we don't live close to one another. So
Oh.
yeah, but I'm so glad to have you on the show. And it was such a pleasure meeting you at Joyful Business Live. Judy just didn't realize how many people she was connecting because
I know, man. That was such a
women.
fantastic event.
It
Oh, it
was
was
so cool.
so good.
I would have liked one more day. I think I could,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I could have had one more day and then maybe
yeah,
left
for
that
sure.
evening, that would have been good too. I would have been okay with that. But I'm so glad to have you on, and I want you to just kind of introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are, what you do, and how you pour into other women with your business.
So I'm Sherry Ward. I'm the CEO of Square Tree Publishing and Productions, and I love breakthrough in women's lives. So we use writing to do that, whether it's breakthrough in your personal life or breakthrough in your business, either one. And we do that through writing. So whether you're writing that business book, you're writing the memoir, you're starting a ministry, you're starting a business, using writing as a vehicle to do that is what we're all about. And then recently, we've started making movies. So I'm really excited about that.
Nice. So tell us about that.
So that's been fun. So I have a friend named Jonathan Yanis. He just hit the 1 million mark sold on his sci-fi fantasy books. And we've been friends for a very long time. And probably about 10 or 11 years ago when we met, I was practicing praying for people and hearing God for them. And so I was super scared and I'm like, Jonathan, can I pray for you? And I just felt like God was saying that he was going to be making movies and be in the gaming industry at some point.
Wow.
And fast forward 10 or 11 years, a couple of years ago, Jonathan's like, hey, you want to make a movie with me? And I'm like, sure.
Wow. That
So
is so
we've
awesome.
just made two sci-fi fantasies, and one of our authors was homeless 20 years, and you would love this with your nursing background. He was homeless 20 years, became a college professor, and now he's a nurse practitioner, which is one level under a doctor. So he just got pardoned by our state governor of all of his records. So, like 3 weeks ago, all of his records just got pardoned. And so we're in the process of finding funding to make his movie kind of like a pursuit of happiness type movie.
Wow, that is amazing. Homeless for 20 years. You know, it's incredible. I hear all of these stories, our call them our test and our testimonies. I think some people use the term mess into message, but it's amazing the people that I'll meet and I don't even realize until after their stories. Yeah,
Yeah.
I call it stranded because I was supposed to catch a plane. I won't say the airline because I actually love them and I don't want to bad them. But it was a situation where, look, I don't want to get on a plane if there's a loose bolt or anything.
Yeah,
I want that plane to be
yeah.
together when I get on it. So when I walked up to the gate, this was just last week. I walked up to the gate. I see the pilot sitting at this. You know how they have the tables right at the gate with the chairs around it, and you can.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, he was at one end, so I sat down at the other with my coffee, and I thought, oh well, my flight was delayed an hour. I'll get some work done here, no problem. I try to make use of my time. And I overheard him on the phone talking about the bolt in the plane and needing to get documentation. And so I said, okay, so we're going to take off in about an hour. And he said, supposed to. Well, about that time, the co-captain came and sat down and three of the flight attendants. So to make this story short, I will tell you that that started at 8:30 a.m. and at 3 p.m. we were still at this table
Wow. No way. No
together,
way.
just us at this table. We had coffee together, breakfast, lunch. We talked about everything from business to Jesus. And
Oh,
the co-captain ended up telling me about his testimony and how he found Christ a year and a half ago, only a year and a half.
wow.
And one of the flight attendants started telling he and I that she wants to read the Bible, but she doesn't understand it. So we ended up praying with her while we were there. It was the
Oh my
craziest.
gosh. So it
It was
wasn't a bolt, it was a God thing.
it was a God thing. I ended up having to
Yeah.
buy another ticket on another airline just to
Wow.
get home because I had to get home that evening or I would have just, laid over at a hotel and just, called it a wash. But I had to end up getting another ticket, which I know God will
Wow.
give that back to me in some way. I had to get another ticket, ended up having to go to Nashville instead of straight to Fort Myers and got started at 8:30 and was home at 11 p.m.
Wow.
But
Wow.
Sherry, it was just one of those things where I walked away from all of them and we all just were when I got up to leave, they were like, "Oh, don't leave us." It was like
Oh, they wanted you to
I had sat
stay.
with these two pilots and these three flight attendants literally all day talking about
Wow.
everything under the sun. And I never felt upset. I never anything. I just felt like this is where I needed to be and almost hated to leave them.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just a
Yeah.
different, very unique day where six strangers came together and just spent the day together and then listening to the testimony and ended up being able to pray over one of the flight attendants was incredible. I love those kind of movies. I love those books. I love hearing about people's testimonies in church and just who you meet. So to hear about someone that was homeless for 20 years that is now a nurse practitioner, which, my background is healthcare, is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, I had a fantastic story come to me this week from one of our authors, Amy's son. She has a heart for helping parents lead their kids to Christ. And so she does it through parables. So one of her book is about a princess and her heart in the castle, but it's all about receiving Christ, but and Jesus, but it's done in a more parable story form with a princess in a castle and her heart. You know, one of the grandmas read that book to her over and over and over again over the weekend, and she was only two. And when she goes home to her mom, she's like, "Mommy, I want Jesus in my heart like the princess did." And then
Oh,
she has another one called Theo's World, and the grandparent read it to him and the parents are not yet Christian. And like he turned around and received Christ, like just through a children's book. So when you give God your yes, regardless if it's a book, if it's your business, if it's, starting something new, when you give God your yes, you just don't know what's on the other side of that.
tell us a little bit about how you work with women with the writing. So are these women that have already started writing, or are they just coming with a clean slate saying, I want to write a book and this is what I want to write about and I don't know where to start?
I get all different types of people coming to me. I get some that want to write their, like I said, write their memoir. They don't know where to start. I get some that are business women and want to write that book for their business to increase their business. And the reasons for that is usually to, as a lead generator in their business, increasing influence or building authority. And then I do get people like as a bonus one, like to build legacy. So on the business side, I see that quite frequently. And then on the memoir side, 1000%, God is usually writing the memoir for healing. So when you write that memoir, Paula Wallace from Bloom in the Dark Ministries has this fantastic thing that she says where it's you write from hurt to heal to help. You're starting at the beginning with the journal writing and all of that and you're just getting out all the hurt. So there's no sequential order. It's just whatever's coming to you. Then you start finding the healing in the writing and you can refine it and go back. And then once you find the healing, then you can help. But I think in that process, a lot of people want to jump straight from the hurt to the help
Right.
without the healing part in the middle. When I wrote my book, A Journey Out of the Wilderness, I had one of my friends be a beta reader to give me her feedback on it. And she's like, oh, no, no. She's
Really?
like, this has too much pain in it. Keep writing until that pain comes out and you can bring
Mm.
redemption and hope. So when you get to the redemption and hope piece, that's when you can truly help.
I don't think that I felt any healing at all for weeks after Bryant died. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until someone asked me to call someone else that had lost a child. And I thought, I am not the one to call this woman because
Right, right.
nowhere near healed. But what I didn't realize is in that phone call, it was two moms coming together that were grieving. But because I had been grieving for weeks and this was new to her, I was able to help her in a small way. But what I didn't realize is it was actually helping me in a small way,
Yeah, yeah,
very
for
small.
sure.
Now, Sherry, I'm talking hair. Okay. And
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah,
hair of
yeah.
help. But I
Right.
remember hanging up the phone and going, God, really? This is what you want me to do? Because it was the only time that I felt just a tad bit of healing. But I continued on my healing journey. And
Mhm.
part of that healing journey was going back to school with the American Institute for Healthcare Professionals to get my counseling
I
certification.
love that. I love that.
And that was a healing aspect for me, not knowing that I was going to use that education when I was on stages speaking or further writing or any, it
Right,
was not
right.
my intention. My intention was to be able to heal and speak from not just experience, but from a point of education to those that were grieving over losses that I had not experienced.
Mhm, mhm.
What I didn't realize and what I found in this certification program is, a lot of times we think grief, we immediately go to, well, who did you lose? Grief is
Yeah, yeah.
a loss by death, but grief can be a loss through divorce because you're grieving your Saturday morning
Right,
the same. You're
right,
grieving the holidays aren't the same. Your children are going somewhere else every other weekend or however that
right,
custody battle
right.
plays out. And so you're grieving that whole thing. You're grieving the loss of the husband that you had for whatever reason. Maybe you want the divorce. There's still a grief
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
because everything changes. People grieve their loss of identity. My husband played professional ball for many years, and in one phone call, he lost his contract. So
Oh, wow.
years, he grieved that loss of identity because he identified with his professional athleticism. He lost that role. Now, granted, he continued to play ball in other ways and became Adidas's spokesperson, basically
Oh, that's so
for
awesome.
senior softball players. At the age of 50 and over, and they even have an Adidas bat with his name on it. So, you're able to do things that are moving on. But at that moment, all he saw was his loss of who he was for the previous 16 plus years.
Right.
And that's very, very difficult. So when you're talking about grief, it comes in different forms. So I think that it is just like this gentleman that was homeless for 20 years. He was grieving something in that 20 years. There was a loss for him to be
Right.
homeless.
Right.
And then for him to go through that healing, and no doubt that he's helping others through health,
Right.
a health
Right.
professional. That's what we do, and that's what we're meant to do in order to bring people to the kingdom. Jesus.
I agree with that. And so when you've got these people that are writing their stories,
Mm,
sometimes what I see is that I get women that want from their business to write the business book, right?
mhm,
As their authority and all that we talked about. However, a lot of those women, I see God having them write the memoir first because they have to find that healing to then write the business book.
mm.
Or he somehow incorporates the business book with the healing and pieces of their story within the book. So I love the practice of each chapter starting out with a story and then doing your teaching. So if that's the way that you're finding the healing as well, it's like within that story and then the lesson. So I see a lot of God being kind of sneaky. And it's like, okay, you can write the business book, but let's go back and do your memoir first, or whether you publish it or not,
Right.
just to get out some of those pieces for healing. Because the ultimate goal is that he wants to launch you. He needs you in a position that you don't self destruct on launch. And
Mm.
I was doing a lot of Facebook challenges for a while. And during one of them, I felt like the Lord said, I'm more interested in launching the person than I am their book. If I make that broader, it's like I'm more interested in launching the person than their book, their product, their service, their coaching, like they're doing for me. I'm more interested in prepping them for launch and launching them. And
Oh,
the book, the product, the service just becomes the vehicle that he uses to launch them.
I never thought about having a book based on your business. So you think about a school teacher, you think about a real estate agent, think about those that are specialized in their particular field. They can write a book for, like you said, a lead generator, or to be able to show that they have that business expertise,
Right,
and can not necessarily, I mean, they could have it on Amazon for sale, right? But they could also use that as a book instead of a business card. A lot, you'll see
right,
the folks
right,
use, or if they go to a networking event, they can hand out their book, or give books to, maybe their mortgage company that they're dealing with. If they're a real estate
right,
agent, I'm thinking of my girlfriend that is a real estate agent in both Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida, and how incredible that she's an agent in all of these states, that for her to be able to have a book to show her business expertise, because she's
right.
multifaceted in these different states with real estate, that's incredible. I've never really haven't thought about it.
Yeah, one of our clients, her name is Loida. She's really, really big on YouTube. And so she's got a huge following for her videos on YouTube. But she created a course and wanted our help to like hone the course and create a funnel for her into her business. And
Mhm.
so we helped her do that. And that authority that you build in that, and it's a low entry point for somebody. Like if I'm going to have you sell my house, that's my baby, number one. Your house is your baby, right? And
Mhm.
number two, that's a large amount of money. It's my house, and I have to know that you've got the negotiating skills, that you know how to work with people, that you're going to be honest, fill in the blank. And I live in California, and every other person's a real estate agent
Sure.
in California. So it's like, how are you going to stand out? Were you going to stand out in a low entry point, price point of a
Mm.
book to build that authority to go, oh yeah, I really want to work with her. I
Right.
think she's amazing. I can feel with her. You're building that trust with her that she knows her stuff. It's just a really good entry point into working with somebody.
I think that's wonderful. And I'm picturing school teachers being able, maybe a kindergarten teacher, writing a book and handing this book out at conferences or with parents on how to work with their children starting school. I'm just thinking about, I know my daughter, she has been in education for many, many years, and she did a course on helping parents that have children that are starting school for the first time, and
Oh, I
what
love
to work
it. I
with.
love
I mean,
it.
how to
Yeah.
work with your kids in the summer going into school, things that they need to make sure that they know how to do. And she doesn't promote the course. I wish that she did, but when it first came out, she did, but it's still there. And I think it's such an amazing tool because no one helped me prepare my children for kindergarten back
Right.
then.
Right.
We didn't have
Right.
that. Just like in the situation that I was in 2007 when Bryant was killed in his car accident, I didn't know a mom that had lost a child. I literally
Yeah.
felt like I was solo on the planet.
Yeah.
There wasn't
Yeah.
websites like, hurting moms or grieving moms and the ones that you have connections with. There was nothing. I didn't find anything. No one led me to anything like that. And
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
was it was in that I said, I want to be that mom that I didn't have. I want to be that
Mm.
person that I couldn't find. I
Yeah.
need that
Perfect.
person for
Perfect.
someone else.
Yeah.
And just think if, I'm just thinking about all the different women that are listening right now and whatever your talents are, how you could be an author of your own expertise to help in
Absolutely.
whatever your talent is. So tell us a little bit, we're going to kind of shift. So you were on Good Morning America.
Yes.
And I think that's super cool. Good Morning America. How did that transpire? How did you come to be on Good Morning America? And I'm gonna have to go back. You'll have to tell me how to find that episode because I
Yeah,
want to go
it's been
back
a
and
while ago. It's been a hot minute, as they say.
yeah, it's been a hot minute, but I want to go back and watch that because I love that. I love to hear people's stories on the different seasons of life and that they take. So you were on Good Morning America. How did that transpire, Sherry?
I want to go back to giving God your yes because I gave God my yes because I was working in the inner cities of Los Angeles during the Rodney King riots and I was in the projects. So I was in anybody who knows LA, Los Angeles. It's the Jordan Downs, which is a very, very hotbed for everything you can imagine. I had drive-bys on bicycles by my classroom. I had a kid shot and killed after school in the hallway at the middle school. So they were doing drive-bys on bicycles because they were only in middle school. And then I moved on to the high school right down the street, Southgate High, and they had over 100 girls getting pregnant a year. We wanted to do something about it. So I formed a grassroots effort with the teachers, do something with teen pregnancy prevention. And so we did. And I just didn't want to coach them on, condoms and everything else that was out there of like, that's the only way. So we
Right.
had, there was a company called Baby Think It Over. They've since slightly changed the name, but it's those baby simulators, those dolls that cry in the middle of the night and you have to feed them with a key.
Sure.
Yeah, it launched in San Diego. So we helped launch that company and I created the curriculum for it. It just went viral. It went, I mean, tons of national TV, Japan TV, Good Morning, Los Angeles Times, all of that kind of stuff. So
That's
it just went
incredible.
completely viral. And we were able to do a lot in the 5 years that I ran that program. And I think our numbers, it was over 100 because the nurses, as you would know, the boxes only had 2 boxes. Like how many girls a month or a year? And you
Mhm.
could just go 99. You couldn't go any higher than that. So we were estimating about 130 girls were getting pregnant a year. And at the end of 5 years, we were down to about 35.
Wow.
So
Well, yeah. If
that
you
was
give
pretty
if
cool.
you give them a baby in a simulator and wakes them up at 2 o'clock in the morning, they have to feed them. It kind of opens your eyes a little bit.
Well, we gave all the football players it to everybody in health class got it. Everybody had to
Wow.
carry it. So it wasn't just the girls, the guys had to carry it too. So
Yeah, it's sometimes I don't think that the teens, and I don't know, I don't want to say just teens because adults can be the same way. They don't think through the consequences and of their circumstances and the things that
right,
they
right,
actually can create and the outcome. They're zoned in like ADD, right? They're only thinking about that at the exact moment. They're not thinking about the outcome and the
right,
consequences of their
right.
decisions until it's too late and then
Yeah,
you have to act
yeah,
on the
yeah,
consequences of your decision,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And
So a lot of people in our company, because I have a lot of people working for me, and a lot of them have educational backgrounds. So
Nice.
one of our specialty is curriculum development. Right now, we're working with a gal who was human trafficked and she was labor trafficked. So we rewrote the book at an eighth grade level so that we want to get it into the schools, in
Mm,
the middle school and the high school. So we purposely made it eighth grade level. So we just got done doing the curriculum for that. So we've launched a lot of ministries, hurting moms, grieving moms. Anthony, the homeless guy that was homeless, he
yeah.
wants to launch some curriculum as well. So we do a lot of curriculum development, ministry, build outs, business for helping business owners that want to increase it. So it's more than just a book. Again, it's about the whole package. And one of the things that's been a complete game changer in our company about 3 or 4 years ago, I brought on Dr. Amanda Hellman, and she's a cognitive release coach because
Mm,
we were getting some really solid Christians that were getting locked up in the process. Whether it was the writing, the publishing, or the marketing, there were different ways and things that they were doing to get locked up.
right.
And so once she came on board, it has been a game changer.
Really?
Yeah, game changer. Like people are finding their voice for the first time out of trauma. I had one lady who went live in at the salon with her like gold foils or her tin foils like in her hair, and it's like you have to have freedom to be able to do that,
Yeah,
and she got the
exactly.
most views, the most comments than any, polished video of people going live, you know what I mean? And so it's been a journey of just holistically helping people and writing through that process.
I think that's so cool. I'm sitting here picturing this lady going live, and that is so something that I would do. Because,
She's
it,
like, she's my people.
yeah, she's my people. I would have to meet her. But it was a journey to get there, Sherry, because I will tell you, I was one of those girls in school that people didn't think that I was insecure because I was a pageant girl. Right. So I did pageant since I was 12 years old, all the way up into the Mrs. Division. And I was in Mrs. Tennessee and, the whole thing. But I felt like I was the most insecure there. I probably wasn't, but I felt like that I was. But you get to a point, I don't know if you just grow through it or it's God basically helps you escape from it. But at some point, many years ago, and I think a lot of it was when my son died, that
Mm,
nothing could hurt me really anymore. I thought that
mm,
was
mhm,
the depth of my pain. So nothing else really mattered. I could get a
mhm.
letter from the IRS and I'd be like, okay, I'll deal with that later, which most people would go, and they would just freak out and it would ruin their week, trying to solve it. It
Right.
was one of those things where, okay, well, I'll just put that over there and I'll prioritize that in order of everything else. It was very hard to get a rise out of me. And through that strength, I became that person that just, I didn't care. I know who I am in Christ. And of course, we want people to like us, right? We want to be accepted. We
Right.
want to be liked and all of those things. But the difference is, I just didn't care if you don't. It
But
just,
that's so freeing.
it is. It's
It's
like,
so freeing when you
if
can
you don't
get to
like me, it's
that.
because you don't know me. That was my mentality of you don't like me, it's because you don't know me. And
I
of
love
course we
that.
get our feelings hurt and I've been
Right.
disappointed by people before, but it's freeing to know that I know who I am in Christ. And I know everything I do is to do it for the right reasons. All my intentions are right and
Mhm,
they're
mhm.
good. And do I make mistakes along the way? Of course I do. I would never want to hurt anyone's feelings, but it is very freeing to be able to sit there and go live with full in your hair and truly not care.
Yeah, that's freedom. So a lot of the things we see that get broken off is perfectionism. I
Mm,
have to get it right. Being seen, being known. And the way that that shows up in the writing is for some people, even starting to write, they have to get it right. So they can't even start writing. It's like, well,
mm,
tell me all the processes, tell me all the publishing stuff, give me all the details, and then I can start writing. Well, that's perfectionism. You have to get it right,
right.
and then sometimes they finish because it's a lot of editing, it's a whole team of editors. They
Mhm.
get through the editing process and we're like, okay, you're done now, sign off. And they're like, no, 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 I have to go backwards and start editing all over again. And that's that I have to get it right. That's that hypervigilance. And that hypervigilance comes a lot from trauma. but it's that hypervigilance of making sure you get it right, you didn't make a mistake, that kind of thing. And then when they get to the marketing place, it's like, oh, I'll just go write the second book. But they haven't even really marketed
The first.
first book because
Right.
they're afraid,
Right.
afraid of being seen, afraid of being known. So that's how it shows up and what it looks like when you've got those mindsets. So it's beautiful that we have like a three-legged chair where we have the whole team to either do coaching through the writing or DIY or done for you. We also have Dr. Manda doing all the mindset stuff. And then we also have the third leg of the chair is we have a prophetic intercessory team
Mm.
that prays over the company and the authors. Because the warfare that you get hit with when you give God your yes, whatever that looks like, can be intense at times. And so our intercessors pray over all the authors. We have a way to for them to put in their prayer requests and we pray for them and help walk them through the process. So we're really meeting them on every level that they need help and support in, getting this baby birth, basically.
That is so incredible. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I hope someone that was just on the fence today, listening and going, I really want to give this a shot because I could talk to you all day. I want them to reach out to you. If you're even thinking about writing a book or launching, like Sherry said, whatever it is, it could be a ministry. Sherry and I we were talking before we started recording on my counseling practice that I really want to take at a higher level than it is right now. The Queen Bee transformation has just started. And so I really want to take it to the level wherever God wants it to go. Um, if anybody's scared to start theirs, listen, me too. No matter, even though I've been doing this for many, many years, 17 years since Bryant passed away, it's still scary to launch out and go higher, thinking, am I worthy? Am I good enough? Does God want to use me in this aspect? And when you feel that calling and if you feel that pulling like I do, give God your yes. I love that. That's a title to a book. Is there a book out there? Give God your
Well,
yes.
my new book is called Launching You. So that's coming
Launching
out.
you. Yeah,
That's
tell
coming
us.
out in a month or two. So
Yeah, so I
yeah.
want you to tell us about your book that's coming out, and then tell us where we can find you, where we can work with you as well.
My new book, Launching You, and the premise is the same thing that God is more concerned about launching you than any of your products, services, your book. And I'm launching it at the Christian Creators 360 event. It's in January in Orlando, Florida. So we would love to see you there. We'll go ahead and hopefully put links to that as well. And that event, Christian Creators 360, is for entrepreneurs, authors, podcasters, and content creators. So I call it the business side of the
Mm.
creatives. Because a lot of times in the Christian community, we say, creativity conference and it's the worship leaders, but this is more like the business side of our creativity. And we're launching it within Podfest, which is one of the largest podcasting conferences with over 3,000 people that come. So we're super excited about that. And we also have squaretreepublishing.com is the website if you want to apply to work with us. And again, we've got everything from DIY to done for you. We've got writing coaches. We've got ghostwriters. So it just depends. We can meet everybody where they're at in their process.
I want to come to Orlando. When is it in January?
January 16th. Yeah. So we would love to see you there. It would be
Yeah, I
fun.
need to check and see. The 16th's ringing a bell. I hope that's not a cheer conference in New Orleans. It is. My granddaughter is this cheerleader and she competes and
It's like, wait a minute.
she's 8 years old and she's traveling and competing.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
crazy,
Oh
but
my
I'm all
goodness.
about it. I'm all in it,
So I also have bonuses for anybody that wants to buy the
Yes.
book. And so it's launchingauthors.com is the website to go get the bonuses for the book. And the christiancreators360.com is the link for the conference.
Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate it. I do. And guys, I will put all of those links into the description for the podcast. So you can go back and just click If you're driving, you don't have to worry about writing that down because you can go back and just click, and I'll have a link there that takes you right to the conference as well as the bonus for the book. Thank you, Sherry. It was wonderful having you.
It was so much fun. It's so good to connect.